Hi, this is Tony Ruggiero here on the Tour Coach Podcast, where we bring you the best mental coaches, fitness experts, teachers, players, everything from my journey in the game of golf to help you learn to play better golf, teach better golf, and enjoy the game. Come on in, we're going to have some fun. All right, joining me here on the Tour Coach Podcast. This is a thrill for me. I've been so excited when I knew we could set this up with Roger Cleveland. And I told you this in a cart ride. I think it was 24 years ago. I signed on as my first good staff deal with Cleveland Golf. It was just such a cool thing for me, and I've stayed with them ever since. So first of all, welcome back. Welcome home.
Thank you.
It's got to be cool for you.
What a treat.
Oh, and when I heard the news and you were down there for that little media thing or filming at Old Palm, it was certainly cool. And so I was going through some questions, and I was talking to some different teachers I knew. One of the questions I got to ask you this is, of all of your years of designing, what's your favorite wedge you've ever designed?
Well, it's obvious. 588.
I knew it was going to be that.
But the 485 was really fun. And it especially the 60, it had offset. There had two versions. Mm-hmm. One had offset, and some guys absolutely to this day love that. And they're the old guys, the Langer and there's some others, Pavin, and so these guys love that. Pretty good short games.
Those are two real good short games. Corey Pavin can get it up and down out of
But the 588, that was a little small, and so the head shape and the OML we made larger for the 588.
Okay.
The tour was my test center. I went out to tour, listened, and so I knew shape and silhouette and geometry a little bit, and so. As a youth playing golf, but I listened to the tour.
What got you into designing clubs and equipment? I mean, what?
Well, just to love the game, and started with the Bobby Jones Calamity Jane putter and took it back to the PGA show and I looked around. This is 79, 80 in that area, 79 I think, and the great wood makers or manufacturers, Wilson, Spalding, McGregor, left their primary base of operation, and they weren't making as good a product. So there was a wood maker, Bobby Gonzalez, and his brother Jesse at Four Star Foundry with Charlie Lyons ran the company, and I went back from the show, and they said, I got this idea, and he said, you're going to fail, Charlie said, which he was, probably right, but anyway, work hard. And designed, went out to tour with the Persimmon at first, and then saw an opportunity. Nobody cared about wedges, so I did wedges.
So that's what I was going to ask you. How did you get to wedges? Was it seeing that nobody, just kind of out of like...
They were using 20-year-old wedges on tour.
Really?
Yeah.
They don't do that anymore. They've got a fresh one every day.
Well, not with the new material Cleveland has, the Z material.
Okay.
It lasts longer.
Really?
The edge, yeah. It doesn't... The raw state is really interesting. A young man developed it, and everybody... to that day, when we started investment casting, Ping started it. Carson's did stainless steel, 17.4. But there was a Bob McClellan, ran fan steel out in Santa Monica, was doing bicycle parts, okay? And he was casting a product called 8620, a high carbon, low alloy steel, and for bicycles. And he said, well, this application for golf, and so everybody started using it. And this is a very disease material. It's a variation. After so many years, nobody's changed it, but it's a variation of that material.
It's interesting.
And in the raw state, it doesn't rust.
Okay.
So a groove, the edge of the groove, where it rusts, it degrades the edge so it doesn't spin as much. You'd think it would spin more, but actually it doesn't.
Really?
And so that edge lasts longer. And it's, we want more spin to last longer.
For sure. And you talked about the tour being kind of like your laboratory, or where you research and you listen to what they want. What do you, from the early stages, have what tour players are looking for in wedges changed over the years from you at all? Or are they still the things, like when you talk to, and you have so many great tour players use them, are they still looking for the same things? And what type of things are they looking for?
Well, they're looking for control. They want to see a launch window and spin. And the USGA has mitigated that, not much anymore. But they're wanting turf interaction based upon their technique. Technique has changed a little bit.
Okay.
And it's gotten, I think, much more reproducible, and they're wider. They're like a Stricker or Jason Day or this guy Scheffler.
Yeah. He's pretty good.
He's pretty good. But they're all.
We got this new training aid you got right here that helps you. How about that? Pitch lock, right?
Well, that's what they all do, and that's what this will train you to do. And you don't want a lot of radial deviation, a lot of radial set in a 30-yard shot. In 40 or 50, you hit the ball first. You want to descend into the ball, but here you want to have width and if you don't have a lot of radial, you create the speed with rotation, and it gets real good.
Gets really good
because you're coming into the ball with width. You're shallow. You're using the sole geometry, the bounce, and you have loft, and you get the leading edge out of the way. So all those things are good.
A lot of the people that listen to this obviously aren't tour players, right? They're aspiring.
But let me say, the short game, every amateur can have a good short game, 40 yards and in.
Correct.
Doesn't take, if you can hit it 40 yards, you can have a good short game. I'll put it that way. Everybody can hit it 40 yards. But you have to get a proper technique, get some great wedges, like Cleveland wedges, RTZ, and RTZ, Z material. Yeah. They call it X all the time, but Z.
Would they do so? Recreational golfers, I agree with you 100%, because I spend a lot of time. I teach tour players, but I still spend a lot of time with just somebody who shoots 85 trying to get better, and I spend a lot of time with them inside 30, 40, 50 yards, because they get a ton of those shots.
You can't hit the greens in 2,
right? Or
in regulation, and you can make a par, and once in a while, a 5 par, you make a birdie.
Correct.
Or so it doesn't take strength; it takes technique.
Now, what do the wedges for a 15 handicapper?
They should be the same.
Should be the same.
Absolutely. Now, if you're really turf dependent.
Okay.
If it's really firm, you need a little less bounce. And at Cleveland, we have mid, low, and high, and we satisfied those needs. Especially in the highest loft.
I was with a tour player years and years ago, and might have been Tom Kite. I was watching him chip, right? He was a pretty good wedge player. And I remembered how much bounce he had on his sand wedge. I just always remembered that I held that sand wedge.
He and Pels helped him analyze his weakness.
Okay.
And his weakness was his length. He couldn't get to 5 pars and 2, but he could lay up to a yardage where he could be really proficient. And that's where really he popularized the 60-degree wedge.
Yeah, and it was unbelievable watching him wedge the ball. I mean, and how accurate he was. But he put a ton of focus on it. When you talk about bounce, explain, because I get this question a lot from recreational golfers hear it all the time.
Yep.
Right. And they see it on the point of sale stuff in the stores, but they don't understand it. Explain from you, what is bouncing? What does a regular golfer need to know about it?
Well, it's like a skid plate. Mm-hmm. Okay. It's the shortest club in the bag. Mm-hmm. Okay. Therefore, your arc will be rather tight versus a 5-iron.
Okay.
Okay. And because of that, naturally, you'll be steeper, okay? And through proper technique, if you get the reel. So most amateurs miniaturize their big swing for the short game. Mm-hmm. That's a mistake.
Okay.
For 30 yards. And they have a lot of set and so forth, and they try to do the same thing. If you have a lot of set, you got to slow down your body to get the club down.
Okay.
If you rotate it hard, you'll never get it to the ball. So you have to slow down. When you do that, you get steep. Okay. You have less loft, less angle. Leading edge comes into play, and their confidence start hitting all different places behind the ball.
That would explain why. Tell me if I'm wrong. That would explain why they have a hard time hitting the same trajectory shot that they see, right? One time one kind of comes out like this, and the next one comes out.
Try to lift it and start swinging through the ball. Mm-hmm. If you're wide and set, then it's much better.
Yeah, and it comes out the same every time.
Yeah, so a pitch shot 30 yards in, you want to actually let the sole come into the ball slightly ahead of the ball, but you bottom out ahead of the ball, but you're starting to come in before the ball.
Okay. Yeah. Bounce as far as turf conditions, because that's also beside, I'll go up to Philadelphia some in the summer and teach, and it's crazy different turf than when we're down there at Old Palm and you saw some of the grain around those greens. And, and it's interesting too, when you have some of these high school or college kids that come down from the north, and then you go drop a couple balls on Bermuda, and they freak out a little bit.
Sure.
What type of bounce do you need with different types of turf? And that?
Well, a little bit more bounce. Everybody, the tour, nobody plays with 4 degrees of bounce. And they're 8, 10, 12, sometimes more.
Okay.
And they're highest loft. And, people... And when I started, there was no 60 degrees, so it was 56. And the likes of Trevino and these, Sevi and these guys could do anything with that. Yeah. And that typically had about 15 degrees of bounce in like the 588.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I would have never thought it was.
Oh yeah. And that's what you need. You're coming into the ball, and you want to have that skid plate. You want that leading edge to be out of the way. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's just so much more bounce, though, than like most golfers think that they need to use.
Well, there's certain manufacturers that put a low bounce, and actually, if you measure it, it's 18, 16, 18. Yeah.
Okay.
And people need that.
And one of the biggest mistakes I see recreational golfers make is it's the exact opposite of what you just talked about, how good players hit chips. They bury the ball in the back and they lean the shaft way forward. And it's like it turns it into a shovel, turning that edge down. And then they all start trying to lift, and
right.
It's the kiss of death. Like every time I drive by that chipping green over there at Old Palm and I see somebody lean away, I'm like, this guy's, he's going
to take a lesson. People take a lesson.
They do, put on their buddies.
I go to clinics and so forth, and I say, who's taken a short game lesson recently?
None.
One hand will come up or something, and they all want to pound it, but they can advance their score, lower the score quicker with a short game lesson than anything. But you got to use the bounce.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you got to get the shaft lean. It can be slightly forward, but not much.
Another question here. I'm going through my questions. I actually was prepared for this, Roger, because I didn't want to embarrass myself in front of you. Is there still an art to club making like it used to be when you started? Now that everything's more mass produced, and and everything's bigger and all of those things.
There is an art, but there's a lot of people are copying everybody these days.
Yeah. Not as much original?
Not as much, no.
Yeah, it's the same in teaching. People rebrand.
Yeah.
I see people that take stuff that I learned from my mentor 20-something years ago, and now when I watch the video, I'm like, well, hell, that's the same shit he told me 20-something years ago. It's just not called that. So
that's right. Well, Cleveland, they've taken the same shape they've really reproduced the 588 beautifully, but they have changed. They have a Z core and redistributing weight, which is very unique and key to feel and so forth, and the material is really cool.
In a minute, I want to talk about some of the shafts and the release stuff that we talked about, but another area that, like, I've done a bunch of this early on, especially with Cleveland, but I think another area that I'll see golfers come in with a 54 and a 56. Like, they have the worst gaps and the worst wedge. Like, they'll spend $800 on a driver. Yeah. And they shoot 90, so they have all these 30, 40-yard shots, and they have awful wedge configuration at the bottom of the set. What to you, what would be your advice? What would be the ideal wedge configuration?
I think if you're you want to see how far you can hit your highest loft, and if you don't hit it very far, you should start with a 58.
Okay.
And then you should gap it in 4s or 5s down to the pitching wedge. These days, your pitching wedge are getting stronger in the sets, and so you got to know. Ask that'll be in the book when you buy a set, or when you buy. They'll tell you what the pitching is, and then go to 58 and see what that gap is, and divide it by 4s or 5s, and you'll have a nice gapping.
That's awesome, because that's how I learned way back, was to...
So 58, 54, 50. Yeah. And then into your pitching wedge, which is probably 46.
Find out how far people hit their pitching wedge, because nowadays those things are like rocket launchers.
They're 43, 42, But, you got to be careful with that as well. But the gapping is important, and like I said, it's you don't want to gap by 2s.
No. I mean, I'm like, what are you doing here? You guys say, I use this one for my bunker. I use this. I was like, all right, buddy.
No.
We were talking on the ride up here, down there at the other end, actually. Yeah. We were talking about wedge shafts and some stuff you have going on. I hit a couple with it. I thought it was crazy interesting, the feel and how I could feel releasing the wedge. Talk a little bit about that and what it is and why it's important and works.
Well, it's kind of not new, but it's variations. There were some players when they started that were using different shafts in their highest loft. Now, the highest loft was 56 in those days, but they would take a 7-iron shaft and put it in their 56-degree wedge because they wanted they wanted more feel. And so this is, and that has been percolating in my mind. And when you get to a short shot, what you don't want, and this is a problem I have, that when you're older, they give you lighter shafts because you try and swing faster. I think that's not right either. And I just went through that experiment. But anyway, with wedges, I want you to have some resistance when you have to swing slowly. Okay, I want you to feel it. If it's so light and you're trying to hit a 20-yard shot over a bunker, and you don't have any feel, it's really difficult. And so if you have some feel, it gives you a chance to have some resistance and feel the shot. In addition to that, the overall weight, I put a weight in the butt of the club so it can release the head easier. And somebody did that in Woods by the name of Nicholas, I think.
He was good.
He was good. But this is really interesting to get this feel and release. It's easy. It makes it easier.
I want to talk. You talked about the lightweight shaft. So I'm 54. I turned 54 the other day. 4 years ago, I was like, I needed to get distance. So I experimented 3 years ago, and I ordered these crazy lightweight shafts. Mm-hmm. It was the worst I've ever hit it. Mm-hmm. Okay, I did hit some further. I'm not going to say I didn't hit further. But I went back to steel heavier shafts with a new set Rodney they made me a couple months ago. I swear I'm hitting the ball further than I did with the others, and I can control it. So what's the deal with I'm just curious. You're from a designer.
And you have feel.
Yes. I felt like I had no feel with the lightweight shafts.
Well, I did the same thing, and I got a new set of circling iron with I think it was a 75-gram shaft. They call it 75, anywhere in there, probably closer to 80, but still light. Mm-hmm. And they felt boardy. They were very, very stiff. I got R's. I wanted to get some feel. They were nowhere near that. And so I went back to the Terra Forza shaft, the graphite shaft, but at 125, which is the same weight as a steel. Mm-hmm. And I got some wonderful feel, and I didn't lose any distance. And so we're using a variation of that. There's some things we're doing, EI cruise and so forth for this wedge, but with a distribution of weight, you can feel things. So, but I have a set now with that 125. It's wonderful. I haven't lost any distance. As a matter of fact, I feel confident, and I have feel now with that. I couldn't feel the shaft, and now I can feel the shaft.
So because I think there was this period, everybody's focusing on distance. I mean, I still do, but
There's something to that.
Yeah,
it really is.
Yeah, I mean, but everybody was putting these crazy lightweight shafts in, and you could see the speed numbers jump up on a launch monitor, but they played worse. I get paid by people playing better.
Yeah. Well, I want to play better. I want to hit it better. I also want to feel it, and I have no feel. So if you don't know where it is, again, you have no feel, and that's multiplied when you get to the short game.
The last thing.
Yeah.
You did this thing out on the range with me. I thought it was cool as shit. You were showing me about where the feel is.
Yeah.
With that thing, I thought that was cool. And I thought golfers, because about how important it is to get this is where you feel it.
You got to get the feel, the grip in the first joint. Uh-huh. Both hands.
Both hands.
Both hands.
That's a big one.
Big one.
Because
they're narrow.
And I see golfers, and they get in there and they get those things up in the palms, and one, their mechanics aren't very good, but they have zero touch and zero feel.
Well, you're trying to break into a safe. You don't do it with a palm. But it's your feel. It's your feel. This thing does that.
It does, and this is going to be cool. So pitch lock. So it goes back to what you said about not. I mean, I could put this thing on. I think I hit some chips with it.
Yep.
And it was awesome.
Well, this Velcro just ties in. What you do is you put your hand in, four fingers.
All four.
Like so.
Yep.
And your thumb. You want to get this. It's coming out soon, but you want to get it to where this is where your feel is. So you just stop it there. This cups around your arm, and you just tie it on like so. And this restricts your radial set, your radial deviation is called. And it keeps your width. And then you say, well, where do I get the power? Because I'm used to, jamming down flaps. Well, you have to rotate.
Right.
And when you rotate with this wide, you'll get shallower attack angle and more consistent striking and wonderful pitches.
The thing I was amazed how much it was spinning. You know, you could see clipping that stuff off.
Well, this is a little variation of where most people, when they take it back, they don't rotate their arm, so it's closed, and this will help you rotate.
Awesome. Roger, you're the best. Thanks for taking time. You're the best. I appreciate it. Hey,
great to be here.
And thanks for all your support over the years. The company with your name on it. Awesome. Couldn't think of a better company.
And your support with Cleveland. Thank you for 20.
You're stuck with me still. You came back. Most people run from me.
Well, they were kind enough to take me back, and I'm thrilled.
Well, we're going to have some fun with this, and I'm going to keep picking your brain on wedges and shipping. Please.
Thank you.